A special exhibition that tells the history of one of the world's most commonly used man-made materials is making its debut in Singapore this weekend. Our plastics will be in the spotlight at the National Museum at a time when its rampant use is damaging the environment.
Well, part of the showcase looks at ways to upcycle the material and will feature a unique machine. And to tell us more about this, we have Jan Yap, exhibition curator, and Hansel Lee from social enterprise Green Nudge. They are here with us in the studios. Good evening to both of you. It's good to see you.
Good evening.
Ms. Yap, let's begin with you. Tell us why we're bringing this exhibition, Plastic Remaking Our World, to Singapore, and specifically, what about it makes it uniquely about Singapore?
Sustainability, as we know, is a key issue for Singapore, as it is for the rest of the world. And for an issue that's so important to our visitors, as the National Museum, also as the People's Museum, it's important to us as well to engage with these issues as they are happening. So, in fact, 2024, our theme for the museum is sustainability. Yes. One of the ways that we are drawing out those local connections to the exhibition is through this digital display of items from our national collection. So it's called, Plastics in Singapore. So it traces the history of how we have used plastics in Singapore. So throughout the exhibition, there are QR codes that are placed that visitors can scan to find out more about these links to Singapore. So, for example, on display in the exhibition, there's some plastic toys, such as a Barbie doll and Lego set. So right by there, we have a connection with our digital display to childhood classic toys in Singapore, one of which is Kuti Kuti, a game which is usually made out of plastic. So these are some of the ways we have drawn these local connections,
right.
And also for the
Sorry to cut in here, Ms. Yap, but the point of drawing these connections is then Mr. Lee, from his social enterprise, picks up on it to, if I quote a line from your enterprises, don't preach but nudge. That's why it's called Green Nudge. So all the stuff that Ms. Yap has told us about the history, drawing us in, what then does your social enterprise do with this information?
I think basically what we're trying to do here at Green Nudge is to actually work together with businesses, schools, as well as communities to try and get them to think a little bit more about issues surrounding not just waste, but also sustainability as well. And I think our involvement here, or working together with the National Museum of Singapore in this plastics exhibition to actually help showcase the injection molding machine is just a really good way in which we can allow locals to better understand issues surrounding plastics.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is about the evolution of plastics as well, which brings this issue of the injection molding machine into play. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how it is used and some of the products that you can actually make with injection molding?
Yeah, so it's actually a really novel machine. Essentially what happens here is that we are actually collecting used plastics, cleaning them and actually drying them before we actually shred them down into tiny bits like this. So these are essentially type 5 plastics, also known as polypropylene. So to make it easier for us to understand, this would be items such as your bubble tea cups and even your yogurt cups as well. So plastics from that category would fall in this bowl that we have here today. So essentially it gets melted in a machine, and through heat and pressure, we're actually able to inject the melted plastics into a mold and then letting it harden and solidify for a while before we're able to create really unique little items that we have right on the table here. So one of them being the ruler that we have here, right? We also have what we call carabiners. So these are really, really useful for you to carry really small items like a shoe bag, for example, or maybe even a couple of grocery bags. And the last unique item here that we have is actually called a clothes hook. Yeah, so
right, okay, for hanging clothes and so on, for drying, the drying racks,
Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is not just recycling. Bringing it back to your exhibition, it's recycling is just we repurpose something, but upcycling is whatever you recycle is actually better than what it was before. How does your exhibition tell us more about how these items can be upcycled?
Yeah. In addition to the machine that is on display. We also have, in the last section of the exhibition, a contemporary section that showcases innovations to do with plastic. So the triads that we are familiar with, reduce, reuse, recycle, and also new materials that are being developed in the area of bioplastics. So in this section, it shows quite a variety of ways that we can repurpose plastic or, as you say, recycle and upcycle the material.
Yeah, it's important for that to happen because once you make this plastic, you know, you don't want it to discard it and for it to get into the sea to become those microplastics. So upcycling is so critical, so to keep it going. Is there a point at which you can't upcycle plastic? I mean, I know that's a very
So I guess in this case, there's a set number of times in which plastics can actually be recycled. So because every time you are processing it, introducing heat and other elements to it, it breaks down the chemical structure of the plastic itself.
Okay.
So I guess while upcycling and recycling are definitely solutions to the waste issue that we have, I think ultimately what we are sort of trying to address here would actually be to embrace reusing and reducing as well.
Right. So that would in itself just sort of define what a circular economy is, but to a point.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Right. A very quick word from both of you, just one sentence. What did you hope to achieve with this combined effort with your exhibition? First yourself, then yourself. Very quickly.
Right. I think I do have quite a big interest in operating a machine like that. I think being able to share it with the public, actually allowing people to see that there's a possibility in which waste plastics can be upcycled, helps to actually inspire people to think a little bit more about issues surrounding waste and sustainability, and hopefully being able to come up with more unique solutions. Yeah.
For us, we are very happy to partner with local enterprises, and through this, we hope to engage more with our community and involve the public also in getting a very hands-on experience of learning how recycling works. So
it improves how we see things, but is a circular economy actually possible? I mean, it's been proposed for decades now.
No, I think at least for what Green Nudge is doing, we see that increasingly the topic of sustainability and circular economy is increasingly becoming a lot more hot. Right? We see schools adopting it into curriculum, businesses that we worked with. We see that it's becoming more of an agenda that they have to address. So I think there is definitely some momentum in that aspect. But I think in order to push that momentum further, we definitely have to continue trying to nudge people to change mindsets and to try and get people to shift a little bit of their behaviors in topics surrounding sustainability.
Yeah. So, Ms. Yap, there are other highlights to this show. It's quite multifaceted, the whole exhibition, because it takes us back to sort of like, you know, the genesis of as you were saying earlier, our plastics use in Singapore, as well as regionally, globally as well, correct? I mean, there's a lot of artwork as well that will be on display. What other highlights might visitors want to kind of pay attention to?
I think from the early plastic section, we do have a physical display of an object from our own collection, which is a tortoiseshell Bible box from the 18th century. Right. And ranging all the way to the contemporary, we have created this interactive space called Plastics in Our Lives, which is in conjunction with the exhibition. So for this interactive space, it's actually a home setup. There's a living room and a bedroom where visitors can experience and learn more about the pervasiveness of plastics in our lives in the context of a Singapore home. So with that, visitors can also learn more about what common objects contain plastics, and also learn a bit more about what things are recyclable or not in Singapore.
Right, an important lesson for all. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming into the studios to share this with us, and all the best with the exhibition and your green efforts, both of you. Thank you very much. Jan Yap there from the National Museum of Singapore and Hansel Lee from social enterprise Green Nudge.